Hello and welcome to the Hearts Standard. It's been a while that I've I don't even know how to introduce it. Yes, we are the Hearts Standard. My name is Joel Skett, and I am joined for the first time in certainly a few weeks by James Kearney. How's it going, James?
I'm very well, thanks. Very good. Good to be back.
Yes. You've been in Germany drinking, as you informed me yesterday, your body weight. Oh no, on Tuesday, drinking your body weight in German lager. How did that go?
Yeah, not far off it. I mean, I never want to look at a beer again. I think I've had more beer than I could possibly countenance ever again. So yeah, I'm done with beer. I'm done with sausages. And actually, weirdly, I'm done with the Euros as well. I've barely watched a game ever since Scotland got knocked out. So I guess I'm just better as well.
Yeah. It's slowed down after the group stages, that's for sure. But the Austria game the other night was good, and there's some cracking games this weekend. But we are here to talk about Heart of Midlothian Football Club because you have been in Germany the last few weeks. It's actually been very busy at Tynecastle, so we thought it would be wise to kind of look back at what has gone on over the last few weeks and basically bring you up to speed. We have, of course, had Tom Irving, who's jumped on to discuss Daniel Oyegoke and Musa Drama, two of the signings that weren't really expected. We'll kind of touch on them later on, but we appreciate Tom for doing that. We will look at everything that's kind of been happening in Gorgie, EH11, Tynecastle, Oriam over the last few weeks. It might get to the point where we have to split this into two parts and do a second part tomorrow because there is a lot to get through. But I think probably the big thing at the moment in terms of stuff that is new or has happened is that I don't think we have a sponsor's message anymore, or certainly at the moment. I've not been sent a new one after the MPH Group's Dunfermline Showcase Bonanza, where you could win a trip to Trump Tower in Las Vegas. So yeah, I've made a meal of the introduction, but I don't have to make a meal of a sponsor's message, which is good.
Yeah, it makes a nice change of pace. I mean, I would suggest enjoy it while you can. I mean, it'll be a matter of time before they've got another tongue twister for you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, I ended up picking up like quite a good time to go on holiday in the end because it basically just I left as 6 new faces have arrived in the door.
Yep.
Yeah,
potentially
camps getting ready. There's a couple of discussions about players going out the way as well. It's you've been kept busy anyway.
Yeah, it's good. I've not been having to scramble around for ideas. They've certainly fallen into our lap. So yeah, there's plenty to get through. So I suppose probably like the big one is the signings, which we will discuss. I'll just get the running order I sent to you earlier on. So kind of split them into two brackets. The signings we were expecting. So we have brought in Jan Danda, we brought in Blair Spittle, but brought in Ryan Fulton and brought in James Penrice. Now so 3 of the 4 were featured in the behind closed doors friendly that took place on Wednesday. Blair Spittle got off the mark. I believe it was a stunning goal, which is in keeping with his performances last season. So we've obviously discussed these guys in great detail. Maybe Ryan Fulton less so, but let's face it, he's coming in to be a backup goalkeeper and to kind of just add to the goalkeeping depths. We've seen Liam McFarlane go out on loan. We've seen Harry Stone go out on loan. So kind of looking at it now that they're in the door with Danda, Spittle and Penrice, who are you most excited about? Who do you think, whether it's short term or long term, who do you think is going to make the biggest impact?
I think when you look at the 3 players, just in terms of the sheer talent that they possess, I think for me, Danda's probably the standout. He seems to be the one that's maybe got the most potential, the highest ceiling. But I mean, we've said this before, but I do think that all 3 are very shrewd signings. I mean, obviously getting them all for free is obviously very good business straight off the bat. But then, I think particularly someone like Danda, where he's been one of the most kind of creative players in the league over the last couple of seasons. He's clearly ready for that step up, and he's got this past of he's played at Swansea City. He's at Liverpool's academy as a youngster as well, I believe. So he's obviously a talented player. He's always had that in him, and it's basically coax that out of him now. And I think that, and also just he's a number 10. He's got the good hair. He looks fantastic. Like, yeah, that's kind of what you want. Those are the kind of players that excite me. Spittle's another one again. I think really good, solid signing. Particularly, like we said, coming off the season he's just had. He must have had 2 or 3 contenders for goal of the season, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like having someone that can shoot from range like that is something that we've talked about before. That's something that Hearts have been missing. And also just he gives that kind of a bit more creativity in the final third, which again is something that has been missing. So I think those two I'd probably expect to have the biggest impact this season. And I think long term, I think James Penrice is another really savvy addition. He's like a player I've seen a lot playing for Partick Thistle. It's always clear that he's going to be playing in the Premiership one day. Obviously, I hope that was with Thistle, but that wasn't to be. But he's a really good player. I think even at Livingston, and he's been playing. He's been holding his own there, and let's face it, particularly last season, it was a poor Livingston team, so it's hard to read too much into, I think, how his performances there. But certainly, he's always a player who has got talent, has got potential, and it's all about just kind of ironing out the creases in his game. And I think I'd like to think we will see that. So I think Penrice is one that's it'll probably take might be a couple of years before we see him at his best. But I mean, I still think he can make an impact straight away. And I think he will be an important player next season and beyond.
Yeah, so just on, it's interesting. I caught up with David Martindale to talk about James Penrice. I caught up with a couple of guys who were at Ross County when Danda was there, and I just couldn't. I'm going to hopefully catch up with Stuart Kettlewell soon to just discuss Blair Spittle and why last season was such a success. But it was interesting that one of the guys I spoke to who brought Danda to Ross County said that he's got the talent to go and play in the Premier League if he wants to. And then Dave Martindale was like, I reckon James Penrice is good enough for Celtic or Rangers. And the fact is, so there's obviously...
Let's be honest, Martindale does like bigging up his own players.
Yeah, of course, he does.
He does. God bless him for it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was really positive about Penrice. He said basically that he was certainly in the first half. He was a player of the season. He was a big miss when they went and kind of ended up getting relegated to miss large chunk of the end of the season. But yeah, I think he is. It's a good age as well, so he'll contribute. But yeah, you break it down to 2 attacking midfielders. So of course they're the ones that you're eyeing to make a big impact. I'm edging towards Danda just because of his age. I think Spittle he's in his prime now, in that he's had a lot of experience. He's played loads of games certainly in the Premiership, and he just had coming off the best season of his career, certainly in terms of numbers. Hearts are getting a guy who I think's ready to make that step up. But then Danda, I do think there's more to come from him. I think we've seen the natural talent there. He's still only 25, so I think there's still more to come from him in terms of before he enters his prime. Excitingly, both of them, he alluded to it, score from outside the box. I think Tom Irvin put up a couple of videos on Twitter off their goals, off their assists, and a lot of goals were from outside the box. We've seen at the Euros, shooting from outside the box seems to be back in vogue, and it's shots from outside the box are exciting. Goals from outside the box are class. So I'm hoping that that's what they'll add. Not just solely that, but they'll add to the team. And in that, I'm interested to see how Naismith's going to fit them in, because we know their best position, probably the best position for both of them, is the number 10.
Well, that's the thing. I think with Spittle in particular, it's a bit more of an open question because, I mean, he's played right wing in the past. I don't see him doing that. I don't think he's got the pace for it. He's played centre mid to some success as well at different periods in his career. So that's a little bit more open. But I think the other thing as well that Danda and Spittle both share, which is surely going to be music to Hearts fans' ears, would be that they can both hit a set piece. I mean, we saw Danda do it at Tynecastle back in, was that December when he scored that free kick?
December, yeah, it would be in December, the 2-2 game.
The 2-2, yeah. Sorry, we've already seen that, and but I mean, Spittle's he's always been really proficient from set pieces, even when he was back at the likes of Dundee United and Partick Thistle in the early stage of his career. And I think that he's another one where again it's just obviously they both bring the creativity that was missing. They both bring shooting from distance that's been missing, and then they also both bring set pieces. So that's another thing where Hearts haven't been doing as well as they could be doing. So I think that I think they're really savvy bits of business. You know, again, it's like this going around the division and looking at other clubs in the league, looking at their players that are out of contract and just nabbing the best ones. And I think that's a really good strategy on paper, at least, to try and really cement that third place and to make it kind of get Hearts to pull away from that chasing pack and really establish themselves as a third force. Obviously, it's signings you can never know for sure if they're going to work out or not. But on paper, at least, this looks like a good window so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll move on to more other signings we've made as well. Just adding Graham here. I think Spittle will be the signing of the season. Graham, in terms of your other kind of comments on YouTube, I'm keeping a note of them because we're going to do a question and answer episode probably next week at some point. So I will add them to our list. Moving on to the signings that perhaps we weren't expecting. So we have Daniel. So myself and Barry Anderson sat down with Daniel the other day, and he told he gave us his pronunciation. I think it's O-U-G-O-K. So I will probably butcher that over the coming weeks and months, and of course Musa Drama as well. So I know we'll get onto Gerard Taylor soon because you've been watching a bit of him for an article that will be going up on the site when hopefully he completes his deal. But in terms of the signings being made, so Musa adds pace, directness, height to the forward line, and then you have Daniel Oyogoki, who is a versatile defender who can play in a centre back and a 4, centre back and a 3, right back and right wing back. What do you make of those additions?
I think Oyogoki's one that we didn't know the name, we didn't know exactly who it was going to be, but I think we knew there was going to be further additions at right back, just because we know that Lindy Kiesel's also away back at Wolves. He had his issues at times. Atkinson again struggling to get into the team towards the end of the season, and so I think that between the Oyogoki and Taylor coming in as well, it's not the biggest surprise. I mean, we'll go on to talk about that, I'm sure, in a wee bit. And then that one's with Musa again. No one could have possibly predicted that he came from, was it the third tier in Spain?
Fourth tier. So I think they won promotion to the third tier. So yeah,
fourth tier, right?
Sevilla's B side. Right.
Okay. So there you go. So it's like it's. Let's be honest, we don't really know, do we? I'll be honest, I don't know what to expect from this guy whatsoever. I would think the jump from Spanish 4th Division football to Scottish Premiership's probably a decent one, and obviously it's going to be a different style of play and all that as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. But yeah, I think we were agreed that particularly towards the end of last season, there were times when we did think another striker was probably needed. Again, I think there may be other areas of the squad where I would argue that are in more urgent need. But I think another forward's certainly not going to go amiss, particularly given the fact that next season, I mean, Hearts will play over 50 games next season. That's almost certain, barring disaster in the Cups. So you are going to need a big squad in order to manage that. And let's be honest, Tagawa, yes, he scored a couple of goals at the end of the season, but for large spells of the season, didn't really offer much. Boyce has been injured for large spells of the season. Vargas might well end up being playing out wide. So I think another attacking option was probably needed. But I'll keep banging that drum. I still think there needs to be another option for Beningame. If Beningame's injured or suspended or just needs a rest, you need another number 6. You need someone to do it.
That's exactly what Graham says. Do feel another CDM would be good to add to the squad. But yeah, we'll no doubt discuss that next week in terms of other transfer business that you think needs to be done. With Musa, I think he is someone that, and I know Naismith talked about it last year with Vargas and Callum Neunhoff, like 2 young guys, that there won't be a lot asked of him early on. He's still young. He's coming from he's coming from a completely different football culture. I really liked his interview with Hearts TV because he's a really confident guy, and he basically just spoke that he thinks Scottish football is probably more suitable to his kind of suits his game because he is direct. He when he gets the ball, he wants to run with it. He wants to run in behind it. He's quick. Whereas obviously in Spain, it's a lot more technical. You need to be and take up certain positions, whereas he can be a bit more off the cuff at Hearts, and I think that's what he will bring to the attacking lineup. And the fact that he's still young, and you've got all that options in the final third. You've got Oda, Forrest, who can play out wide, and Vargas to play out wide, and then you've got Shanklin, Vargas, and Tagawa can play through the middle. Musa's not coming in to make an impact straight away, but he's good there. That once he gets up to speed, then he'll get dripped in, and you'll see probably see flashes of him, and he'll be given time to adapt. Whereas, like last season, we were a wee bit light, and Vargas, for example, was being asked to do a lot more. So I think it does make it's a sensible signing because Hearts obviously rate him and think he's got a lot of potential. There was a lot of interest in him from the English Championship in January, I believe. So yeah, he's definitely one for the future. Whereas Oyugoki is someone who will play often, and then you look at his background. He's played a decent amount of first team games in England. He's come through at Brentford, which is really a highly rated system of their B team as well, and he's played for the England. I think it's under 19s, and so he's got good experience and that versatility, which allows him to, with Hearts, complain the back three, complain the back four. So yeah, both of them make sense, and the profiles of them, both young but both physical, big guys, aggressive, and you think that's what I think Hearts could have done a wee bit more of. And I think me and Tom talked about it being a bit more physicality, a bit more power in the team. I certainly wouldn't go amiss.
Well, yeah, I know you've been pining out for the big physical Hearts.
Yes,
you want those days back, and yeah, I think a couple of these boys seem to fit that bill quite nicely.
Even just a nice balance between what it is just now with that big physicality that other clubs love to moan about.
Exactly. Again, it's just you want to have different players that give you different ways of playing, so you can get to take on different teams. I think we've seen that a lot last season. That Naismith does tailor the team and the team's tactics to the oppositions a lot of the time as well, while still having those kind of core fundamental principles of play. And I think particularly with Musa, I think the thing that a lot of fans will have been crying out for after last season will be just a bit of pace in the forward line. Like we've seen a lot of games last season where, for all the qualities that something like Shanklin has, for instance, like he's never going to be a 100-meter sprinter. That's not his game. And there have been games at times where it's like, I'm thinking particularly games against Rangers in particular, where it's like, just test them. Try and get in behind, stretch the game a wee bit, and they just look around the squad, and you think, that no one can really, really do that. So again, I think it just anything that provides a kind of another kind of weapon to add to the attacking arsenal can only be a good thing. Particularly, like we say, if it's someone who gives that bit of pace that has been lacking over the last year or so.
And in talking of kind of pace and physicality, that's something that Gerard Taylor will certainly bring. He is the Costa Rican wing back / right back. He was with Costa Rica at the Copa America. He plays for Deportivo Saprissa in the Costa Rican Premier League. They are, I think, the biggest club, the most successful club in Costa Rica. He's won trophies there. He's played a lot of games for them. It is expected that he will join on a loan deal, which Hearts will have an option to make permanent, very similar to Vargas. And the Hearts have they had to get a governing body exemption because he's coming from outside the UK, and it's the whole complexities of bringing players in that they can start the visa process. And it seems like he is going to be coming across next week for a medical. So that's progressing. You've been watching a wee bit of him. What are your first? We won't go into too much depth because we'll probably do a podcast on the or a show on its own about him. But what's your initial impressions?
So I guess so I watched him because he was playing at the Copa America. So I watched him the game against Paraguay from the other night. Costa Rica won 2-1. He played the full 90 in that. So I watched that, and then I watched a bit of a game for a club. Didn't get quite through the end of it. And yeah, I mean, he looks like kind of what you'd want in a modern wing back. Like you say, he's strong, he's quick, and he seems to be quite aggressive as well. He's quite happy playing. This might be a tactical thing, but certainly he was playing as a right wing back when Costa Rica playing a back three against Paraguay, and he was really getting involved with the midfield, linking up and playing lots of 1-2s. Now they didn't always come off. Sometimes his one was fine, but the two back to him was a bit lack direction or a bit too much on it, whatever it might be. But there's certainly no fault in his endeavour. I mean, for the opening goal, Costa Rica went 1-0 up after like 5 minutes, I think it was, and it's a good goal. It's a guy who just kind of shoots from distance and scores, but that's a striker. But Taylor was the nearest and most advanced Costa Rican player for them. He was right up the edge of the Paraguay box, bombing forward. And he's again, I've not watched enough of him yet. I need to watch even more of him. I think he's fairly two-footed. I saw a goal that he scored in a league game towards the end of last year as well, when again he's playing at right wing back. He charges out the pitch and he cuts inside onto his left, kind of at the edge of the box, and scuds it in. And okay, maybe the goalie could do a wee bit better, but the point is he hits it and it's a good hit on his left foot from distance, which again is always welcome. It's something that's a nice wee like kind of trick to have in your box tricks. So initial impressions, seems strong, fast, and energetic, and willing to get up and down the flank, which is kind of what you want. Now, that was him playing as a wing back. I've not had a chance to watch him as a right back and a back four yet. That was obviously a slightly different role, a bit more asked from defensively. So I'll need, stay tuned on that. We need to come back to that one. But certainly, initial impressions, I can see the attraction. I can see why Naismith was interested.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him play predominantly as a wing back or as a full back, maybe at home against sides we are expected to dominate the ball against. Whereas Oyugoki I wouldn't be surprised to see him play mostly as a right-sided centre back or a right back in a back four if playing away. If playing in bigger games where maybe we are not expected to have the ball, or even in games if we're expected to do a lot of defending, whether it's in Europe or going to Old Firm, if Oyugoki plays as a wing back there as well. But
so something that on that actually just reminded me of there, that chimes of that. Again, I've not probably looked into this, but I was doing some reading around him and I found out that Taylor used to play in midfield when he was younger. So again, maybe that obviously suggests an extra bit of technical ability, which would make you a bit more suited to the attacking side of the game. So that chimes with that,
yeah. So, but it's good that we have sorted the right hand side. Well, it seems to have sorted the right hand side off defence and have a couple options there, which brings me on to Toby Sibic and Nathaniel Atkinson, the two guys in the squad at the end of the season after Limbikisa left and went back to Wolves, who were the team's right side off defence. Naismith confirmed earlier this week that they'd likely be leaving. They're not going to go to Tenerife because basically they're not seen as they're not going to be used as part of they're not going to get game time. Minutes are going to be reduced. That when Hearts come back from Tenerife, they will rejoin the first team squad in the train. So it's not like they've been banished. They're going to be part of the first team squad, but they with the view that they could potentially move on and they're not going to be involved in terms of minutes and friendlies and playing competitive games going forward. So those two will essentially up for sale. I don't think anyone is surprised by that. Just you mentioned it towards the end of last season. Sibic, I think he featured 7 or 8 times in the second half of the season. Atkinson, likewise in terms of starts, I think he only made 7 or 8 starts in the second half of the season. Don't think he played one and made one substitute appearance after the split as well, which was against Celtic. Didn't have the best of games, and he, even at that time, thinking writing's on the wall. And then you sign Daniel Oyugoki and the links with Gerard Taylor, and you're just thinking, well, who are the players in the squad that are going to have to make space for these two players coming in? The obvious are Sibic and Atkinson. So I really don't think it was any surprise when that was confirmed by Naismith.
No, exactly. I mean, it's they're two players, like you say, where as the season went on and progressed, they were getting less and less game time, making less and less of an impact. And while they've both been decent enough players for the club, they've both had their moments, put in good performances. But I think there's a kind of an acknowledgement and understanding from everyone that it's probably best for a part of the ways this time. I think that particularly going off last season, Atkinson, he actually did start it quite well, up until
he
that.
started really well and got that injury at St Mirren.
And then it just seemed like he never really bounced back from that. But yeah, I think that, how long's Atkinson been at Hearts now? What, 2 or 3 years? Something like that?
Yeah, 2.5 years, I think.
Thereabouts. So, he's had plenty of opportunities to kind of nail down that spot and make it his own. And the truth of the matter is he hasn't. That's it's not in the world. That's football. But it's clear that, we talked about a lot towards the end of the season. It's clear that Hearts needed at least one right back, probably two. And that's it's shown that even as second choice right back, he maybe can't be fully trusted. So it's fair to understand. When the Civic's another one again, who I think that actually I think particularly in the second half of the season, I thought whenever he played, he was largely fine. To be honest,
yeah,
I don't
he
think
done well.
Really did much wrong. But it's also you're never walking away with, how good was Toby Civic that game? The same way you might say about Rolls having the odd good game, or Kent, pretty much every week, or Kingsley. You never really got that impression with Civic again. Where it's like, I think it's just that case of he's been a good squad player over the last year or so, but it seems quite clear that he's not going to become a first team regular anytime soon. So I think it's in everyone's interest if he moves on. I'm sure he will get a club. I'm sure both the players will have interest in them, whether that be in Scotland or perhaps maybe a bit further afield. But I'm sure they'll both get clubs. I'm sure they'll both get snapped up, and hopefully Hearts get a wee bit of money for them both as well. That'd be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. In an ideal world, that's how it happens. That's what happens, and that's how it unfolds. Yeah, you go back to last season, and when Hearts fans were evaluating the squad, what was the priority? Everyone was seeing as like you had to upgrade in the right back spot.
Even as far back as January, people were saying that,
And it's just, I think, it's like you said, it's football. It is the natural evolution of Hearts trying to progress and get up to the next level. And there's going to be times where players who have reached their ceiling at Hearts, I think you nailed on the head that, especially Atkinson, just never really nailed down a start or just really kind of took that right back position on his own. I think maybe.
Let's be honest with you, a 1 million-year-old Michael Smith was keeping out the team for a fair bit,
Yeah, yes, that's very fair, and I think I would be interested to see what would have happened if he didn't get that injury against St Mirren. Just didn't come back with the same kind of consistency, and I think that's the big thing with both him and Civic is that they never got to a point where you're just like, right, you can be trusted as a centre back or a right back. There's definitely talent there. Atkinson, I think he's really good going forward or certainly taking the ball on, travelling with it. Sometimes issues where he kind of cuts in, and if he gets further up the field, reluctant to use his left foot. And I just think at times there was, I don't know if mentality or focus aspect where he just seems like it just didn't seem switched on at times. I'm looking at that Rangers game where Hearts got battered certainly in the first half, and he was just miles off it. And it's just at times where he seems to not get up to the pace of the game in Scottish football. Whereas Civic, you look at his kind of physical capacity, very, very good. I would just like to see him be more aggressive, more assertive. So I definitely think there's a player in there. He's probably not been helped by what's his best position. Is it a right? Is it centre back in a back three? Is it centre back in a back four? Is it a right back? Or is it a certain defensive midfielder, which he was in his first spell at Hearts? But there's plenty there. You look at Atkinson, Australian international. You look at Civic, still young, lot of experience, versatile. That clubs were thinking, yes, they can improve us, or we can help them develop and maybe kick on. But yeah, I think it's safe to say both was sensible to kind of move them on and look to upgrade in that position. But they have had really good moments, especially Civic. His goal at Hibs will live long in the memory.
I was about to mention that, his name liveth forevermore.
Yes, absolutely. And just interestingly, Graham here said, I thought Grant might be another who would leave, been here 2 years and has shown flashes, but not enough, and Spittle and Danda would start before him, plus Mackay. Grant is the other one I thought he... you just wonder what his future looked like with, as Graham said, with Spittle and Mackay coming in. Spittle and Danda coming in. This is something probably ask Naismith next week in Tenerife, or we get a chat with the players. Is I wonder if Grant might be used as a centre midfielder and kind of as in a Benny mould, because he's played number 6 before when he was at Lincoln. I think he did really well in that role. So that might be one that could be considered, but that's me just speculating. So who knows?
Yeah, no, I think with Grant, I mean, I think, like Graham says, other players have come in. There's a lot of options there now all of a sudden, and it's quite a busy part of the pitch. I think the other thing as well to remember is with Grant is that obviously last season when the European squads were submitted, like one player had to miss out and it was him, which again kind of it says what his standing in the squad was back then. Having said that, I think actually last season, I think he did that really annoying thing where he'd have like one good game, then like 2 or 3 anonymous games, and like a good game and 2 or 3 anonymous games, and he very much blew hot and cold. But I do think over the piece, he did show himself to be quite a valuable addition. I think that I do wonder, just because there's obviously there's a lot of players who can play in that kind of central midfield area. There's a lot of young guys as well, the likes of Aidan Derham, Macaulay Tay, Finlay Pollock. And I do wonder if someone like Grant, who's 29, I think, maybe 30 now, but certainly having someone of that kind of experience in the middle of the park can be a big thing, particularly in European games, even though I know he got left out last season. So it'll be interesting. One other thing as well on Grant that I noticed that I saw today, there were some pictures of the players at the airport about to jet off to Tenerife. I think he's went bleach blonde with his hair. I think it was him. I couldn't really see properly, but it looked like him.
Yeah, he's. I think he's. Well, he's got. I don't know if I can't remember if he's gone fully blonde. I had a look as well, or he's done a Tagawa or Oda where he's kind of. Oh no, he looks like certainly top of his head is bleach blonde. So fair play. We'll see how that.
We've got a lovely new haircut. There we go.
Yeah, we'll see how that reacts in the sun of Tenerife, and we'll just finish up by the only other kind of really rumour or bit of speculation that emerged while you were away was there was some chat that Kioski Tagawa, there was interest, or a club in Japan were kind of keeping tabs on him as a potential option as a forward to bring in there. I think the Japanese transfer market opens later this month and is only open for a few weeks. When it emerged, there was certainly no offers from any club or like registered interest at Hearts for him. But you could imagine Tagawa is someone who falls into a category of probably not actively looking to sell, will be used because of the number of games. But equally, if there was this is the same for every player, but if there was an offer that was attractive to the club, that the club would likely be willing to listen.
Yeah, I mean, he is another player who like, again, we are all Tagawa fans here. We're all card-carrying members of the Tagawa fan club. We all want him to do well. And he did finish the season quite well, but, again, we need to be honest. Large stretches of the last season, he didn't offer much. And, there's a whole bunch of things that go into that. Whether or not he's the right tactical fit, whether or not he's adapting, how to get all his teammates, all the rest of it. But the fact of the matter is he scored 2 goals all season. Oh, 3, sorry. He got 3. 3, sorry, yes. I beg your pardon. He got 3. One was only against Thistle, though, so does that count? But anyway, I just think that, yeah, you're right. I mean, he's a player who the jury's still out on. I think, I think he's got a lot of goodwill behind him, and I think that, it's not as if fans are, chasing him at the door just trying to get a bit of money for him and get rid of him. But I do think that this pre-season in particular, like, particularly things like Tenerife, that will be really big for players like him, and to be honest, players like Grant as well, to an extent, where I think there are guys who they're maybe on the fringes of the first team at the moment, but it's not inconceivable to see them kicking on and playing regularly. But it's also not inconceivable to see them getting shifted on if a good offer did come in. I think with Tagawa, though, I think that he's obviously had a year to kind of get used to it and acclimatise to Scottish football, and he was improving as the year went on, which I think is important. And it is a long contract on it. It was a 3-year deal he signed, wasn't it?
Yes.
So he's still got another 2 years left to run on that, and he's still a relatively young player. I would be surprised if Hearts decided to cut their losses at this point with him, to the point where if he went out, maybe he'd go out on loan rather than it being a permanent transfer or something like that. But I would think that he's while he's maybe over the course of the season, he's probably not shown all that much. I think he's just about shown enough, particularly towards the end, to earn like another chance at it, rather than just cut your loss and go, no, get rid of him, he's not good enough,
I think there's certainly within the fan base, I think there's excitement or intrigue to see what he can produce in the second season after what he did towards the end of the season with his 2 goals, his goalies against Rangers, and you're just hoping that he has now got a full preseason at Hearts. So you could have now a full preseason at Hearts and the opportunity there to kind of kick on and grow in that position and just still be a very useful member of the squad. And if that happens, then it means you're not having to replace him with another forward. That you're well stocked.
And the other thing as well is that, the one thing he's not had, since he's been at Hearts is a run of games. He's not had that at all. So again, it seems a bit unfair to bin him when he's not even had that opportunity. And obviously a lot of it's down to things like Shanklin's fantastic form or the way the team's set up. But I do think there is a good player in there with Tagawa. And again, I would just like to see him given a decent chance. And again, that's what pre-season's all about. It's about showing that you are ready to compete with the first team, showing that you are ready to make that step up and making life difficult for Naismith by giving them some decisions to make. So I do think the next kind of 2-3 weeks will be a really important kind of period for the likes of Tagawa, Grant, and then probably a couple others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly on Tagawa, you look at the Leyton Orient game a week on Saturday, there's a very good chance he could start that just because Shanklin and Xander Clark come back to training next week and they'll be built back into it. I can't imagine they'll be involved against Leyton Orient, or if they are, it'll be very, very few minutes, I'd imagine. And
same
then
with Vargas as well.
Yeah, Vargas is not back until I think it's the week starting the 15th of July. So you've got essentially Tagawa, Musa, and Liam Boyce is like the kind of the central forward options. So yeah, there's a real chance for him to kind of showcase that in a friendly early on. We will leave it there. We have still got plenty to cover, but we'll do that tomorrow, where we kind of talk about stuff that's been happening away from the pitch, and for example, like season ticket sales, the away kit, the fixture list, additions at Tynecastle, Orium upgrades, and we'll look ahead to pre-season as well, because Hearts flew out to Tenerife today. I'll be flying out on Sunday for a few days. We're going to go into the training camp on the Monday and the Wednesday, I believe. So we'll have coverage from Tenerife next week, but we'll talk about that more tomorrow as we continue to catch James up before the last few weeks of Heart stuff. But until then, thank you very much, everyone, for your attention, continued to engagement, support. I would ask if you could kindly like and subscribe. I believe this is a thing on YouTube and it helps the channel to grow, so please like and subscribe, buttons wherever they are, but until tomorrow, thank you and goodbye.
Bye bye.